All right, so today we are going to do a demo of static channel backups. Uh, I'm hoping you guys must have covered it in your OpTech sessions or your theory sessions. So just a small brief about static channel backups. So whenever if we create a channel, we have some static info that is initialized while we create the channel, like the channel base points, the channel keys that are used to sign the payments which happens inside the channel. So what we do is we store the static information uh, of the channel when the channel is initiated so that uh, we won't have to rely upon the dynamic nature of the lightning database, which changes whenever an HTLC is created or whenever a payment happens. So it's the static channel backup is also dynamic, but it is exponentially less dynamic when compared to the lightning database. So in Code Lightning, we don't call static channel backups as static channel backup. We name them emergency recover because the name is a bit misleading. It's not a backup because you won't be able to resume your channels using it. At least as of now, you won't be able to resume your channel. Uh, Also, it's not static theoretically speaking. So it gets updated whenever you open a new channel or you close a new channel. Uh, so you can read the documentation. They have a backup section that
I'm sorry,
can
Aditya, the final 10 seconds I missed you. You said it's not actually static because.
because it changes whenever you open a channel or close a channel. So when you close a channel, we remove the information of that channel from the static channel backup because that is of no use after you have closed the channel. And when you open a channel, we have to append some new information to it. So it's not static. Like we would call the seed phrase of a wallet static because it never changes. So that is why it's not absolutely static. So we don't call it static channel backups in CLN. We call it emergency recover. Uh, Also, this should be the last resort when you lose your funds. Like the first defense mechanism of your node shouldn't be static channel backups
What
or
is
emergency recovery.
what is
You
a
should have
static
a
channel
proper
backup in Lightning
uh,
Network?
cloud backup of your database or some other form of backup that are suggested in this section of the documentation.
What
So
is
yeah,
what is
these
a
are the
static
different
channel
things that
backup?
are stored inside the
What is a
Lightning
static channel backup in
directory
Lightning?
that we are going to have a look at while
Yeah.
when I
What
demonstrate it.
is a static
So the
channel backup in
HSM
Lightning?
secret is nothing but the wallet seed of your Lightning node. It's purely static. It gets initialized when you first run the node and it stays the same throughout the lifetime of your node. The static channel backup, this static channel is named as emergency.recover file, which gets updated automatically in the backend in the Lightning directory. And then there's this database which has the detailed information of your funds, uh, all the HTLCs, all the channel keys, basically all the information about your channels and your uh, the amount of points that you have is stored inside this database. These are the different methods through which you can see your HSM secret. That is the wallet seed. It's 32 bytes. Uh, okay, so codex 32. I'm assuming. Okay, so codex 32 is a format. It's invented by Blockstream Research. So what you can do is you can represent your HSM secret in codex 32 format, and the advantage of it is the letters that are used in codex 32 are easier to remember, so you won't get confused between the letters. And then uh, there's this method to distribute your seed among like n people. So if some of you have heard of Shamir secret sharing, it's an algorithm to distribute a number in such a way that only when T of the numbers combine, they would be able to reconstruct the seed. So what you can do is you can distribute your seed among like three people, and any two of them can combine and reconstruct the seed again. But they won't be able to reconstruct the seed by themselves because the threshold is two. So we'll have a look at it in the upcoming workshop. So this was just a short introduction to Codex 32. Here comes
We
the
did
step.
this yesterday in the optics session. We spent almost 30 minutes on this, not in Codex 32, but like another secret sharing, like Shami's secret sharing. Okay, there's a new proposal that's come out, which is exactly the same, which
Mhm,
allows you to split your BIP39 mnemonic into three shares or up
mhm.
to 16 shares. And then out of those three shares, if you have only two shares, you can recover your mnemonic seed. So we did kind of a workshop on that yesterday itself for 30 minutes. So I'm sure like most of who were there remember and will be able to
Great.
relate to it.
Cool. Okay, so the advantage of Codex 32 over other formats is you can distribute the seeds like by hand. You don't need a computer to calculate the shares. So the part, quote unquote, the part that you distribute among people are called shares. So you can calculate the part, you can verify the checksum by hand. We would have to get into the mechanics of it, but that's why Code Lightning has chosen the Codex 32 format over like the raw hex. Huh. All right, so here's a static channel backup which we are going to use to recover our node. Then they give this database backups like India also. Okay, the database. You can use these methods to basically back up your Lightning database. That is the main copy of the database that is used to store your funds, your payment channels, and all of those things. So have a look at it, and if you are a serious node runner, and you should use some of these methods that are mentioned here. All right, so let's hop over to the terminal. I hope it's visible clearly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm assuming by now every one of you might be comfortable with the startup test shell script, which is used to host nodes on your local computer. So I have already run the script. So now we are going to host two nodes on our local system. Hmm. So the two nodes are L1 CLI and L2 CLI. So that's
Aditya, I think you're sharing the window instead of the screen or something like that because we can still see the core lightning page and not your terminal.
oh, just a second. Hmm. Okay. I was sharing the window. Is it fixed?
Well, now we can see it. It's proper. It's moving as well.
Cool. So yeah, I have run the startup test script which we have been using for the past 3 weeks. We host two nodes, two local nodes using the script L1 CLI and L2 CLI. Um, Okay, so uh, while going through the preparation for this workshop, I think someone is on unmute. Is there any question?
No, I think Shayan accidentally must have unmuted himself. You can continue.
Cool. So uh, while preparing for this session, I encountered a bug in the code. So if you guys are trying, I'll create a PR right away after this workshop. So if you guys are trying to imitate my what I do in this workshop, you will have to go on to the chan backup.c file, and on line number 521, you will have to remove this E. So it's dual OPEND, not OPENED. Yeah, it's on line 521. Inside the plugin directory, there's this file called chan backup.c. So because of this, I was not able to update my static channel backup file, because this basically suggests that whenever the channel state changes to closed or awaiting lock-in or dual opened awaiting lock-in, just update the SCB file. As you can see, this is the log updating the SCB. So while preparing for this session, when I was trying to see why it wasn't updating the SCB file, I encountered uh, uh, this bug that the spelling is wrong. So it's a typo basically. So after removing the E, you will have to run make, so that the latest version of this file can be compiled. It would automatically compile it, and then you will have to run the startup reg test script and host the node. Okay, so now let's uh, fund channel between these nodes. So as you all might know that there's this command called fund nodes, which automatically uh, does all the things that are required to open a channel between the two nodes that are created. So after hitting enter, it funds the channel between node 1 and node 2, waiting for confirmation. Done. So let's check if the channel is created. So we have a channel. Uh, Please do let me know if the screen is not visible, because I have zoomed out a bit. Um,
No, it's visible and the font is also perfect.
cool. So we have created the channel. As you can see, there are these multiple stages that it goes through while opening the channel. So as you can see, this dual open awaiting lock-in. This is what we detect inside the plugin to update the static channel backup file. So let's hop over to the log and see if it's updating it. It's very tough to read it when it's zoomed in. Okay, so we'll have to search through it. It might be somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. So the plugin chan backup logs a debug updating the SCB file when the state changes from dual open D awaiting lock-in. Uh, so at the backend, when we fund the channel, the node automatically updates the SCB file whenever a channel opens or the channel closes. So all right, so we have funded the channel. Now I'll delete the database for the L1 node or L2 node or whatever you want, whatever you suggest. So we'll stop the nodes first. Then we'll hop over to the lightning directory. So that the lightning directories for the nodes that are created through startup regtest script are registered inside this TMP directory. So as you can see, there are these two folders L1 and L2. I hope it's visible and readable as well.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. So inside the L1 directory, we can see there's this config file of the node. There's this log file. The log file stores all the log that we are reading by the command L1 log, and the config file has the alias and all those information about a node. And then there's a folder which is named uh, on the network that you're running the node. So if we would be running the node on mainnet or testnet, it would be testnet or mainnet. But right now we are using regtest. So inside both the folders, you can see there is this folder called regtest. So this regtest has these folder. Every node creates this directory and these files automatically at the backend. I can give an overview of each one of these. So this HSM secret is the main file. You should have a copy of this, like a hard copy, or you should write down the secret that is stored inside, because this is your wallet phrase. If you lose this, you won't be able to recover any of your funds. So it is essential to back up to have a copy of HSM secret. Then there's this lightning d.sqlite3. So this is the database. This is the dynamic database that gets updated. Uh, if some of you have SQL Explorer, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sorry. So you can hop over to SQL Explorer and open this file and see the tables and the columns that are stored inside a Lightning database, inside the Lightning node, inside this database. Then there's this gossip store. As the name suggests, gossip store is basically used to store all the information about the network, the channel between nodes, and the balance. Uh, and the balance is also stored. I guess not the individual balances. Individual balances are not stored inside gossip, but some information about channels are stored so that you can create a localized view of the network to route transactions. So that is stored inside this file. The emergency.recover file, it stores all the information about your channel, and this is in encrypted form. So it's encrypted using a key that is derived from your HSM secret. So going a bit off topic, if some of you might have heard of HKDF function, it's a key derivation function. So we derive a key from the HSM secret and then we encrypt the information inside emergency recover using it. So if you don't have your HSM secret, we would not be able to decrypt this. So even having any of your file, if you don't have HSM secret, won't be of any advantage. You won't be able to grab any of your funds. Then there's this accounts.sqlite3. So this has been created by Nifty. This is used by the bookkeeper plugin. So the bookkeeper plugin is used by uh, big nodes, which are routing nodes on the network. So that are used to create uh, all the accounting of your nodes. Basically, what is your routing fees, how much are you earning, and is it profitable or not. So that is all that calculation uh, is leveraged using this accounts.sqlite3. So since we have already created the channel and funded it, and it was in the channel was in normal state, now I would delete this lightning database and see what happens. So you should never do this on your mainnet, because this would lead to loss of funds. So I've deleted the database from the L1 node. L2 node,
Just one
uh,
question
at-
there.
yeah.
Will it like really lead to loss of fund? Yeah, it may lead to loss of fund if the other lightning node cheats with you. or it definitely leads to loss of funds.
If you delete your Lightning database, all the funds that are stuck in a channel, you would not be able to grab them without the help of some kind of backup. But all the but the funds that are not inside your channel and inside your hot wallet would be able you would be able to sweep them because you have your wallet seed intact. So if you delete your Lightning database, your node would not be able to detect that you had some channels with some peers, and these are the funds that belong to you and all of
But
those
my
things.
peers would know that this much fund belong to me. So if
Yeah.
they if they would wish to settle, they can still settle, but there's a chance that they can cheat. Is that
No,
okay?
no, no. You would not able to even get the fund if they cheat. When they drop the commitment transaction on the chain,
Hmm.
since you don't have the channel base points, you would not be able to like recognize if that funds belong to you.
Okay,
Basically, those funds would could not be called yours because you don't have the channel base points.
okay,
That is what emergency recover is doing. It derives the channel base points, and then it detects that yeah, this was a channel that belonged to me at some time, and then it sweeps the fund. So that's why if you delete the Lightning database, you you would lose all the funds that are inside the channel, regardless of if they cheat or not.
No, but I think they still carry the channel state with them also, right? The channel partners. So you can, if they are willing to cooperate, you can recover using their backup. Would you be able to do that?
You won't have the channel base points, no? So
Okay.
have you read the static key feature?
I'm not sure if I can recall.
Okay,
Can
so
you please?
we'll have to uh, we'll have to get in detail of how the payments are signed and all of those things. So you would need channel base points to recover your funds, basically.
Right. Okay. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mhm. And just one basic question, Aditya. What is the HSM secret? I'm sorry, I might have missed it. If you.
HSM secret is your node phrase basically. It's a 32 byte hexadecimal number
Okay.
which is your seed phrase, which is the seed phrase of your wallet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. They call it HSM secret. The nomenclature is confusing. Basically, they have
Hmm.
mentioned it in their documentation as well.
Right. It's the private key of your Lightning
Yeah.
node, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So now we'll restart the nodes. Now that we have deleted the database for the L1 node, let's restart. So as you can see, the first node says it doesn't detect any channels even after receiving the channel reestablish. Even if we connect to L2 and we receive a channel reestablish message, uh, we won't be able to detect that this channel reestablish message belongs to us. We would just ignore it. Let's hop forward to the second node. So as you can see, this has all the L2 CLI is intact. We haven't done anything to the database of L2. So it says the channel is in normal state, will attempt to reconnect in 32 seconds. So it will reconnect and it will send channel reestablishment in some intervals. But obviously we won't be able to recognize, so we'll just ignore the channel reestablish. So now we will run the command L1 CLI emergency recover. So this RPC would at the backend decrypt the emergency recover file. It would stub all the information that I included inside the file and create a dummy channel. So the information would not be sufficient to resume your channel, but you would be able to just recognize that I had a channel and these were the base points. So if the peer drops off the commitment transaction, you would be able to sweep the funds. So
Using just the channel base point, is it? Or will it have all the relevant information?
okay, so I'll tell you what is stored inside it. Hmm. So this is what we store inside the emergency recover. Wait, we have a struct for it. So we store the ID. Here the ID refers to the row that is used inside the Lightning database to store the channel. So each channel uh, is occupying a row inside the database. So that ID is stored. Then we store the channel ID. Then we store the node ID of the node that we have a channel with, basically the public key of that node. Then we have the wire address. The wire address is used to reconnect to that node. So it could either be the IP address or the Tor network if they are not using uh, normal net. Then the funding out point. So that is how we recognize that there's this funding transaction. And if this funding transaction gets spent, we would have to trigger sweep function to sweep the funds that are involved in the force close by the peer. Then there's amount sat that says the amount of sats that are inside the funding. And then there's this channel type. So channel type are different types that you can basically the feature. So if you guys, if some of you have read Bolt 8, that describes all the feature that could be enabled inside a channel, like the static key and all of those things. So this is all we store inside uh, the emergency recover for each of the channels in this format. Wait, I'll show you the format as well. Called, I forgot. Give me a second. I'll figure out what is it called. It's called static chance backup. Okay. So the emergency recover file has these information. So it has the version. So we use a version inside the file because let's say we change the amount of content that we store inside the file. So we would have to upgrade the version because each version uh, would have different method of deserializing it. So imagine if I store one more information inside the static information like R balance inside the channel. So we would upgrade the version. Right now the version is just one. We would upgrade it to two or three so that we recognize that there's one more parameter to deserialize. Then there's a timestamp. This timestamp is used while creating the static channel backup file. So it would tell us when the file was created. So we could basically compare between multiple emergency recover file, which one is older and which one is newer. And then there's this array of SCB which stores all the information about the the channel. So this one is an array. This one is just a U32 timestamp, and this one is a version. Right now it's one. As you can see, if
So, Aditya, this version, like, can we infer that this is pretty analogous to commits in GitHub? Like, with every commit, whenever you make change to your software, you add a commit, right? And you can trace those commits to see what changes you made throughout the life cycle of that software. So every time we add additional information to the channel, the version number increases. So we can go back to a specific version number and analyze what changed or what was the status of the channel backup at that point in time.
Okay, I think there's a bit confusion here. So for git commits, with each commit the number is unique, right? So it's not about, so right now the version is constant. As you can see, we are comparing the version to this constant version, and this is just a one. So each, imagine if right now there's some discussion going on that we don't want our peer to force close on us while we recover from static channel backup. We want a mutual close. I hope you know the difference between a force close and a mutual close.
Yes.
So yeah, to enable that, we would have to change the structure of this SCB channel, the information that is stored here. The we would have to have some additional parameters as well here. Whatever they could be X, Y, Z, whatever. So we would have to then upgrade the version. So that we can recognize that some other information would have to be fetched as well through the file. Because in the file, if you have a look at the file, it would just be numbers. It would not have any yeah. So since this is encrypted, I hope it's, is it, file is locked, but it's just a gibberish basically. So we would need some information so that we can deserialize it. That's why we use version. So each time we do a modification uh, to the way we store the data, we would have to update the version. Otherwise, we won't be able to recognize how to deserialize it. Like, I hope it's
Yeah, now
I,
now I understand. Yeah, thanks.
cool. So yeah, so this emergency recover RPC then gives out an output. It gives out an array of stubs. It is called stubs because these are just dummy monitors. And then the channel IDs of all the channels that are recovered using the emergency recover file. So as you can see, we just have a single channel ID inside this array, C44A59, and let's look at the channel IDs from L to CLI if these match. Hmm. Uh, Channel ID here, T44A597915, and so we have successfully recovered the channel inside L1. So now let's run L1 CLI list peer channel. Now since it's a dummy channel, you could see the short channel ID is just 1 cross 1 cross 1. Do do you have any idea what short channel ID is?
Yes, I mean we covered it in mastering Lightning Network.
Hmm.
Uh, but if you can go over it again, I vividly remember it's
So
like I won't be able to summarize. Yeah, please.
yeah, short channel ID is just the address to the funding out point. So the first number here represents the block number. The second number here represents the transaction number inside the block, and then the third number represents the out point that is used for funding the channel. So since this one is recovered from the emergency file, it has a dummy number 1 cross 1 cross 1, but the real short channel ID would be stored inside L2, and that is, wait, that is this. In block number 271, the first transaction and the first out point is the funding out point. So that is what short channel ID is. But since this is a dummy monitor, we just hard code it to 1 cross 1 cross 1 because this would not help us in fetching the funds that are dropped on chain. So now
Just
let's,
one question.
yeah,
Can you elaborate on what an out point is? Is it a combination of TXID and V out?
yes. So inside the transaction, there are multiple outputs, right?
Right.
So the output that is used to fund a channel, that would be the funding output.
Okay, fine. So there are three like pieces of information that a short channel ID comprises of, right? One is the block
Yeah,
height,
yeah,
right? And the second
yeah.
one is
The rank of the transaction inside the block. The first
the
transaction,
rank.
yeah, like
Okay, yeah, got it.
there's no
Okay,
technical meaning behind the word rank. It's just the place at which the transaction occupies the block.
right. And the
Yeah,
third one is the V out. Now the V out is
yeah,
TXID and the output, right? So
yes.
this one is a dummy. Even if you go to the original one, it's just one digit or something like that.
It's the first
It's
output of that transaction. It just suggests that.
okay. We have the block
Yeah,
height and we have the rank, so we don't need the TXID, right? The block
yeah,
height and the rank and the output number is sufficient for us to trace that specific transaction or
yeah,
UTXO.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Since it is dummy, so we just hardcore every channel that is recovered by emergency recover would have this short channel ID. So now what it does is at the back end, it would stub this dummy channel inside L1, and then L1 would recognize that there's this dummy channel that I've got from the emergency file, and I don't have any way to resume the channel using the information. So I would let me just send an error to L2 to force close it. Let's trace it inside the log file as well. I would have to zoom out to.
Aditya, can you quickly go over what the command is supposed to do? What are we trying to do with it?
Wait, this emergency recover.
No. The just the last 5 seconds. I think you place a command for the.
I'm just opening the log file of the node. So
Okay.
you run L1 log to open the log file of the first node. You run L2 log to open the log file of the second node. So the second node must have received an error from the first node.
Okay. Okay. So we're trying to parse what that error is. It.
Yeah, we'll parse the error and see what is it. It must have received an error. It says raw transaction. Okay, so it says here, this is the node ID of the first node. It says telling connect D to send error. No, this is not what it receives. Hmm. Okay. There must be a log inside it which says that we have got this error from node 1. The error would be, if you guys have read the bolt, it's this message basically, the error and warning messages. So it sends an error. It has the channel ID, the length of the error that it sends, and then the length. So I would have to zoom out a lot.
Can we copy paste this and ask ChatGPT to search for what we want to search?
So, uh, I think that would take more time than just
Okay.
figuring out when it's for the error. So it tells here, telling connected to send error, send error. Hmm. here. So it says inside the channel 1, peer permanent failure in channel D normal, they send error channel. This is the channel ID and this is what we have sent them. We can't be together anymore. So basically it says that my there's some irreparable damage on my side, so please force close the channel. It receives the channel and then it says status closed. So now it would have automatically gone on chain. So when if I look at L1 CLI, L2 CLI, look here channel with LV. Yeah, it says they sent error. It says awaiting unilateral. So it's just awaiting for a new block to mine so that the commitment transaction would be mined. So now we would mine a block. Let's see. PSS. We'll block we'll mine 5 blocks. So we have mined 5 blocks. Now L1 CLI, now we'll wait for a couple of seconds so that these blocks are uh, added to our lightning nodes and then it would recognize the closing transaction. It says funding spend seen and the new state is on chain. So it says unknown commitment recovering our funds. So just by running the emergency recover RPC, it has sent the error to our peer in the backend, and the peer has dropped on chain. And then after the blocks are mined, we have recognized that there is this. We have seen the funding transaction is spent, and then it would recover the funds. So if I write list funds, you would see the outpoint that belongs to us. So inside this channel, this is the fund that we have recovered. So had I not have the emergency recover file, I would never be able to get these funds. So that is how emergency recover file is used to recover channels. The only downside is you won't be able to resume it, but there are some. I had a discussion uh, with developers last night, so we are planning to do a mutual close as well. Right now, it just force closes. It just forces the peer to force close it. In future, some channels might be resumed, and some channels might be closed using the mutual close, so that the fee rate could be low.
Is it fair to say on a high level that this is just a backup for the channel for the static channel backup file?
Yes. We have right now we have used the static channel backup file to recover the channel. So what I have done is I have hosted 2 nodes. I create a channel between them. Then I delete the database of L1, and then when I again start the node, I can see that it doesn't recognize any channel. It doesn't respond to L2, and then I run the emergency recover RPC. So it would automatically at the backend decrypt the static channel backup file and then send error and then sweep the funds. So we have basically recovered our funds using static channel backup or emergency recovery.
Right.
This is irrespective of the state of the other files in the folder. Is it so, or it is just that we,
Yeah.
we need all of the files except for
No, we won't need all of the files. We would just need 2 files, the HSM secret, so that we can decrypt this file. This is basically the wallet seed. So all the messages that are sent are, we would have to get in detail of the protocol, but this is used to send every message inside the network. So we would need HSM secret and we would need this file. All other files, you could delete them. You could do anything with them. But if you have these two files, you would be able to at least get the funds back if the peer cooperates, obviously, because the transaction is dropped on chain by the peer. So if you're one more downside of emergency recover is if your peer cheats, you won't be able to create a penalty transaction. You would just have to accept it because you don't have the revocation secret stored inside emergency recover yet.
Is there any way for the peer to know that I am at a loss and that's
No,
why I
no.
am
That is why
initiating?
that is why we framed the error to be very ambiguous. It just says we can't be together anymore. So it doesn't say that I have lost something. It says please force close it.
Okay, okay.
Is it possible to include the revocation key in the emergency backup?
Yeah. So in LDK, wait, this is LDK. So I'm right now implementing this for LDK. So as you can see in LDK, we are inside this struct, we have this uh, uh, channel keys ID and the commitment secret. This has the counterparty commitment secret. So we would be able to create penalty transactions using these. But the issue is the frequency of updating your static channel backup file would be then higher because it gets updated every time you do a payment inside a channel. So it defeats the purpose of being static.
Hmm.
So that's the downside. But then there's this scale up of static channel backup, which is called the peer storage backup. So if you guys are interested, I could give you a brief of what it is.
Sure, if it does not take
Yeah,
too much
sure.
of time.
Yeah. So what it does is, wait, I'll show you in the code.
Just one quick question, Aditya. So static channel backup can be backed up in multiple places anyway, right?
Yeah.
As in you can host it on Google Cloud potentially. Is
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
right? I think it does have some sensitive information, right? You are leaking your
No, no,
privacy.
no. If you could just store it in clear text, and
Ah,
since it's encrypted, no one would be able to see the content.
right, right,
You could tweet your file; it won't make any
right.
difference.
The decryption key, I think, will be in the HSM secret file.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
All
your
right.
your channel backup, the static channel backup, it keeps changing, right? Like every time you establish a new connection, for instance, or every time you go offline and come online. So every time you need to back it up manually on Google Drive or wherever you're storing it, right?
No, no. It changes every time you open a new channel. That's it. Right now,
Right.
like for Cold Lightning, it changes every time you open a new channel. So whenever you open a new channel, obviously channels wouldn't be open in the backend. You would consciously send someone a request to open a channel. So you can uh, after after the channel is opened, you can just back up the file. That's it.
Okay, correct.
So technically, it gets updated whenever a channel is opened or closed, but it's not necessary to update your backup of emergency recover when you close a channel because it won't make a difference because the channel is already closed. But whenever you open a channel, you should update your emergency recover file so that it has all the static information about the new channel open.
Right.
All right. So peer storage backup is basically a feature. Wait, let me open the documentation. Hmm. So what it allows is we can rent out some amount of space in the peers node. So what happens is whenever I connect to say Faisal's node, I would send him a message which is peer storage message, and it would have the contents of my static channel backup file in encrypted form. So and Faisal would just store it because the size of the file is just 40 KB or 45 KB. We can either for free or we can do it in exchange for some sats. So there could be a service that Faisal hosts that I would store some of your data that you give me in exchange for, let's say, 1,000 sats or 2,000 sats every update. So whenever I reconnect to Faisal, he would uh, give me the latest copy of the data that he has in form of your peer storage message, which is also called peer storage retrieval. So on receiving the on receiving my peer storage from Faisal, if I am able to decrypt it correctly, it means that Faisal has not tampered with my data. But if I'm not able to decrypt it using the keys, it means Faisal has tampered with the data, and I need to punish him somehow, or maybe close the channel or do something. So with peer storage backups, you won't need the emergency recover file as well. You would just need to connect to the peer that you have given the data to. They would revert back the data to, they would give your data back again, and then you can decrypt it, and then you can go on with the recovery process. Right now in CLN, it's in experimental form. So you can use this flag to enable peer storage while running the configure file. Experimental peer storage. Yeah, it's called experimental peer storage. So while running configure, wait, it made some typo. It's called experimental peer storage. So when you enable it, it would automatically send your static channel backup file content to your peers, which who also have enabled this feature inside their node. So then if you lose your database or the emergency recover file, you could just connect back to the peer and then fetch the data again and then use it to recover the content. And the RPC that is used for it is called I would have to see, it's called restore from peer. So checks if I have got a backup from a peer, and if so, will stub those channel inside the database, and if it's successful, will return the list of channel that has been successfully stubbed. So this must have an if condition. Wait, figures out if they have specified this. So if you specify experimental peer storage, it would this this channel backup plugin would automatically handle all the things in the backend.
How is the file sent to your peer? Is it sent as a
As a
file or
lightning message. Wait, if you are comfortable with reading the bolds, there are these two message proposals that I have given inside this feature. Wait. Mhm. Yes. Uh, Wait, I'll open it inside my local copy. Hmm. So this is the first message, peer storage, which appends the length of the data and then the data itself. And then there's this peer storage retrieval message that the peer sends me that this is the latest copy of your data. It is it also has the length of it and then the data itself. So these are the simple lightning messages that I use to exchange your data. As you can see here, notes that advertise, there's this feature. If you have read Bolt 9, sorry, Bolt 9 has the feature thing. So we advertise a feature which is called provide storage. Uh, Storing arbitrary data for their peers. The data must not exceed 65 kb, which lets it fit inside the lightning message. So each lightning message can't be bigger than 65 kb. Uh, yeah, and then you can verify upon reconnection because they will obviously send the peer storage retrieval message. And then there are these other things as well. You must encrypt the data that you send to your peers because it could obviously contain sensitive information like the channel base points and all of those things. So that should be encrypted. Uh, and must send. Yeah, these are some intricate details of when these messages should be sent. To scale up this, right now we are planning to uh, right now CLN just stores peer storage for free, but uh, I'm right now working on monetizing some part of your storage so that you can each time you send a peer storage retrieval, you could get some compensation for successfully persisting the data inside your system. And we are also planning to update it frequently so that we can work on mutually closing the channels using the backup that are stored in peer storage, uh, or doing a mutual close, because to do a mutual close we would need exact state of the channel, what amount of what amount of money belongs to the other person and what amount of it belongs to you. So we would update static channel backups more frequently, but then we would distribute it inside the network so that if you lose your funds, you could just connect back and recover using the data that is stored in the network in encrypted form.
Just one question.
Hmm.
What chance is there for this architecture to be abused, like Operaton is now being abused?
Sorry.
Like how Operaton is now being abused, is there any chance that this peer storage mechanism can
Yeah.
get diverted for non-intended purposes?
So the only way your peer can abuse, like basically cheat, is when they tamper with the data. So if they tamper with the data, you would obviously know it because since it is encrypted, you would not be able to decrypt it. And if you know about encryption, they have this MAC appended to the encrypted data, so you can identify if the data has been tampered with first, and the second, if they don't store your data. So if they don't store your data, you won't have any method to verify if they are stored or not. So the only way is to distribute as much as you can so that you maximize the chances of getting your data back.
My question was more like, what if I intentionally don't uh, uh, send my actual static file along, but I rather send some arbitrary data for
Mhm.
my peer to store.
Oh, you're talking about spamming, right?
Yeah, spamming.
Okay, so we handle spamming as well inside the documentation. So if you spam more than one update per second or more than one update 5 seconds, you could just tell them that you could just send them a warning that I'll close the channel if you spam it. So, and if my peer sends arbitrary data, that's their loss because I'm just getting sets to store it and I'll just revert the same data that you have given me. So it doesn't matter if that's arbitrary or it's of any use. The only way they could abuse this is by spamming very frequently, like sending 100 updates per second. That would choke your network. So you can set a limit to that. If they sent over it, you could send them a warning, close the channel, and do all this stuff.
But I think realistically they will not do this, right? Because you immediately lose reputation as a channel partner then.
Yes.
And also, I think, Vala, I mean, this information is not perpetually stored, right? With op return, basically, like every participant on the network has to store that data of op return, right? But here it's only between two peers, and once you discontinue the channel with a peer, the peer is no longer liable to store that information, right, Aditya?
Yes, right now it's between channel operators, but imagine if I host a node and I advertise a service that this node would just store your peer storages and I would need 1,000 sats for every update. So we could scale it up to like not needing the channel. So that way people can monetize their nodes as well and like a watchtower basically, if you know what a watchtower is.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So
that
in that
information
case,
does not
yeah.
burden the entire network,
Obviously,
right?
yeah, obviously, this peer storage, static channel backups are not fail proof. Like they could send you an old state. They could say, I don't have it, just like go away. So these are the last resort that I hope all of you are familiar with the backup issue inside the Lightning Network, right? So no one has been able to basically solve the backup issue inside the Lightning Network. There are multiple RAID systems that you can set up to ensure that you don't delete your Lightning database and all of those things. But there's no fail-proof method. So the peer storage backups or the static channel backups are the last resort. When you have tried everything that you could have tried, you have tried the cloud database and that is also not working, and your CPU is half burnt, and all of those things have happened, and you have already given up that I won't be able to get my funds back, then you can use peer storage and static channel backups as a safety net basically, because these are not fail proof. Your peer could just deny giving you the peer storage, and all you can do is like you won't be able to do anything obviously in that situation.
What do you mean by what is RAID system, Aditya?
So these are parallel. So you could basically create parallel databases. So whenever in different places. So one database is hosted on the cloud and one is on your local hard disk. So whenever an update is happening, it would happen parallelly inside your local and your cloud, like at the same time. So if your local hard disk gets corrupted, uh, you could just fetch the latest data from the cloud.
Hmm.
So there are different. It's basically fundamental of computer science. There are different RAID system, RAID one, RAID two. These are used by big MNCs like Google, Facebook to back up their data because they also have dynamic databases of millions of users. It's called RAID. You can read about it on the map.
Okay, the RAID system, RAID.
Yes.
Okay. Also, just one quick question. I think that's also why the reputation of channel partners matter a lot, right? Because that's how you know who is spamming.
Yes.
And because Lightning is not one static network, so it's not as if there's one the Lightning network. So reputation alone can at least filter a lot of spam out.
Yes, I mean, yeah, there's credibility as well. But as a node runner, you since the space is very cheap, it would be like 500 sats or 1,000 sats for 60 kb. You should try to distribute it as much as you can, so that if something happens, your chances of getting it back are higher.
Hmm.
This is what a RAID system looks like. So you can read about all the RAIDs, RAID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hmm.
This isn't associated with Bitcoin. This is just computer science. All right. So this was
What are
today's
we going to
workshop. I
cover in
was
the next
like
session,
my
Aditya?
objective for today was to educate you about backing up your node and what are peer storage backup, what's the static channel backup.
Yep. Thank you, Aditya. Amazing session.
So if you
Thanks,
have any,
Aditya.
yeah,
Great session.
Aditya, will
Thank
we
you.
have another session, or was this the last one?
about,
So I was just wondering as to what we might cover in the next one, if there will be one.
yeah, we can like I can go as deeper as you guys want. Like I can give a class on the architecture of cold lightning, so that if some of you are interested in contributing to cold lightning, that would help. We can cover bold 12 invoices, so we can uh, create static invoices and pay them. We can do code reviews. So whatever you guys suggest, like it's on you. Or we can shift to
I'm up
LDK
for
as
it,
well.
Aditya. I'm up for it. If you're like willing to take us like deep into it in deep technical aspects, I personally am up for it, and I'll be very interested in doing that. I mean, instead of just doing something on the surface level, I mean, Raj and Saurabh will also have a say on that. But I'm just giving my personal opinion. I would love to go into the Lightning Network as deep and intricate as possible, as technical as possible.
Yeah, so we can uh, build it as deep as we want. We can, or we can shift to LDK as well,
We
because
can.
I
You are
have
currently,
knowledge of these two code bases.
and you are currently contributing in LTK, is it?
I am right now working on peer storage backups for LDK. In the past, I have implemented peer storage static channel backups and this Codex 32 for CLN. So yeah, I contribute to these two clients basically.
Is there any reason of the popularity of LTK, increasing popularity of LTK?
LDK is very flexible. It gives you a command over how you want to set up your node. So LDK is just a library. So you would have to create a front end and you could uh, use when to send a message, and all the things are basically variable. So it gives you more command and flexibility. For CLN, you would either have to create a plugin or get into the core daemon, the Lightning daemon, and that's tough because not many people know C in detail. So that's why LDK is more famous, and many wallets use LDK as their backend.
Does it make sense to cover like LDK after like we have covered some parts of CLN, and then sort of take up like Bolt 12 in houses, Bolt 12 invoices in CLN and in LDK, and then like that ways we will have, in my opinion, like I don't want to go very deep. I just want to have like application level understanding of how to like make calls and how to write CLI commands. So my bias will
Mhm.
be to have more broad awareness, but we can sort of listen to everyone and then decide which direction should we take.
So we like for CLN, if the objective is just to run a node and see how to create invoices, how to send payments, then for CLN I think we are done. We know how to set up a node now. We know what commands to run to pay an invoice, and how to we have basic knowledge as well to back up a node. So I think that's done. We can hop over to LDK if you want. We can this is the code base of LDK, which is the Rust Lightning. So using the APIs that are exposed in this library, we can create a Lightning wallet. So we can hop over to that as well, or we can get in more detail for Code Lightning or LDK, both of them.
Aditya, that makes sense. Like we can go much deeper into CLN itself and discuss about the architectural level decisions and stuff. Because I'm really interested on that stuff, like why something is being done the way they did it, and all the engineering issues what they might have faced. So yeah, and one suggestion: do share the resources a week prior to the session so that we can also prepare better and come up with better questions.
Cool. I'll I'll have a discussion with Raj as well. What are we like? How to go forward?
So
I mean,
I
like
think for
adding.
now, Fazil and I will be up for it. Like if you can go to any depths. So yeah, we are cool with it.
Yeah, I will also be interested in the architecture part and going deep. Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
adding on to what Bala and Vitalu said, I mean, like uh, what we can do is like we can archive it. Like we've covered the surface level things like the basic ABCD or the elementary level of the Lightning Network, how to run a node, how to establish channels, and how to recover your backup state, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can make a video, okay, and make a playlist or something on YouTube. So whenever new people come, okay, to Bitshala, new cohort comes, or new freshers come to Bitshala, and they want elementary level understanding before digging into the details, we can just guide them to YouTube. That hey, go to YouTube. There's a playlist of these 4 videos, these 5 videos. Get your hands on them and have an elementary level understanding, and then you can join the weekly sessions that go more into detail. So even that could be a mechanism, but then eventually you, Setu and Raj can have a discussion of how you know orchestrate these sessions.
Sure. Like this is a good idea actually, because there's no particular resource which document any of the client in such detail, be it LND, LDK, or CLN. So
Right. So 3 votes for going in detail. Vitalu, myself, and Bal. Good. Yeah. Let's see. Anything planned for next week, or it's not
uh,
yet decided?
I haven't decided yet. I'll think uh, we can do bolt 12 or splicing or liquidity ads. Although I'll have to devote some time getting into it myself. But yeah, that could be done. Or we can just discuss the like till now we were the only dev part that I have covered is creating plugins because that don't require any knowledge of C. You could write a plugin in Rust, Python, or any language. So now we can proceed to go in detail about the core architecture of CLN, like the Lightning daemon, the on-chain D, the opening D, the HSMD. So we can do a code review of what are these files and how the backend things happen, how
Wow,
things
I
happen.
love that. But yeah, let's see what the broader consensus is. Maybe you, Raj, and Setu can have a discussion and then update in the group as to what has been decided for next week.
Sure. Or we can, there's this commando plugin. Wait, I'll have to see. So there's this plugin which allows you to control your node from your mobile or some remote device using something called runes. If you have runes, is derived from a research done by Google. It's called macaroons. So we create runes and then we can control our node using some remote device that could either be a phone or anything. And so we could cover that as well. The commando plugin. It's called the commando plugin. Here it is. So we can cover this as well. We can do the code review of how this does the job and all of those things. So there are n number of things we can do if you guys are interested. Cool, then I'll discuss with Raj and Setu. We can set up a call sometime this week.
Yeah, sure. Thanks again, Aditya, for the session.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Satya. I think
For,
we can,
yeah.
like you will have a discussion with Raj, but we can also keep it async in the group. Lightning Dev mostly these five or six people, Bala, Bitalu, Fazal, Shreyan, right? They are the ones who usually attend, and some of them come. Sometimes Yami has joined, or Yatharth was there, Atharva sometimes joined. So it can
Mhm.
also async symptom like it can also be generated in that manner. So for example, we can have some topics, but we don't have to create the whole curriculum for the next session. Like you can maybe have two things in mind. Let's start with
Mhm.
bold. Let's take a deep dive into how the C libraries are built, or like
Mhm.
LDK. So and then we organically sort of arrive at this is where we will go in the next session. So that will
Sure.
take the pressure off as to you have to create a curriculum for the next session. You don't have to. You can just organically discuss and figure out what will cover.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'll post all the ideas that I have asynchronously on the group, and then we can decide. Cool.
Yeah.
Then we can wrap up for today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so
It's
much,
all.
Aditya, for your time, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya, for the
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
Thank
night.
you so much.
Good night. Good night.
By the way, good job on the plugin, Faisal. I reviewed the code. It's, yeah, it's very
Thanks,
cool
thanks
that
a
you
lot.
are.
I'm really
Yeah, it's
interested
very
on that
cool that
stuff,
you
like
are also
why something is
trying
being done the way they did
your.
it, and all the engineering issues what they might have faced. So yeah, and
Hello.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Aditya. I was unmuted.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was just giving kudos to Faisal for trying out to write a plugin by himself. And yeah,
Thanks a lot for firstly taking your time out to teach me in the first place, and then taking your time out to review. Thanks a lot.
all right. My pleasure.
All right,
All
then. Good
right.
night, guys.
Good night. Have a nice day. Have a nice week.